Yeah, I thought I would just put myself available to who, like, whatever questions people have for anything, because I feel like there's a lot of, like, I don't know, misinformation about driving tests, lots of stress building, lots of hype in the news and stuff like that, where I feel like anxiety is like shooting up high, prices of lessons is up high, cost of tests is high. Like, you have to either wait for ages or get something off the black market, which just feels rough. So everything's just sky high at the moment, and I just felt like it's a good time to, I don't know, offer some kind of insight or relieving of the stress. I think I've booked it in December. That's another thing. Booking tests is just long at the moment, but in 5 months' time, you can book a test. So at the moment, it's end of January if you want to book a test, and if you have an instructor to help you, they can book it for then. If not, just hit me up. Now, in the environment that we're in, where tests are so long to book, because, right, let's say you book your practical test now, then from that point, 5 months' time, that's when you actually get your test. If you haven't done your theory test now, it'll be a couple of weeks until you actually pass your theory test. Then once you pass your theory test, then you can go book the practical test. So it already sets you back like an extra month or month and a half. And if you fail your theory test, then it's just long. So I would say probably book your theory test as soon as possible. Back in the day, it used to be just kind of like start your lessons, even do your theory test, don't worry about booking the practical test. And then once you're ready, we'll book a test. But now, I would recommend just booking a test, even if you don't even have an instructor. When you get closer to the time, I'd say probably, if you're doing, everyone should really be able to, like, 3 months' time of, like, consistent lessons. So basically, book your theory test, get your theory test done, before even really worrying about driving lessons or anything like that. If you are struggling with your theory test, some instructors do extra sessions, or they have like a link to different websites like Theory Test Pro and stuff like that if you need extra help for it. But generally, I would say, like, get one of the apps that you need, book yourself on, and then from that point, when you get to like 4 months away, that's when you want to start doing lessons. I'd say don't worry about like squeezing all that. Oh no, that's what I said. But so this guy basically said, I don't have any money. Thanks, Olivia, I appreciate that. I don't have any money. Can I have free driving lessons? And I was basically like, I feel like me as like trying to be a friend to this guy, let's be more realistic. Like, we need to set some goals for you, like, generally in life. So I said, like, do you have any kind of income? He said, yes, he's got a job. It's not enough to pay for what the cost of lessons are at the moment. So I said, okay, right, we need to book you a test 6 months' time. And then in the next 3 months, you're saving up money for the last 3 months. So the 3 months before your test. And that's when you're going to commit to putting the driving lessons in, rather than spend some lessons now, get like drip feed lessons, drip feed whatever. Just kind of like slowly getting better, but slowly get like, and like you're saying, TJ, crash courses. I do crash courses, and that's what I link to. Is I feel like they're in this like environment we're in, crash courses, intensive courses, even like 1-day courses, I've found quite a lot of success in. So let's read the actual question. Do you like crash courses? As I don't usually have the balance to do driving lessons and work, as I work weird hours. Yeah, so I feel like crash courses are, for me, the way I learn, I find them useful. Other people like kind of like slowly, like 1 hour a week, but I just feel like what you put in, by the time you get round to the next week, you've lost half of it or you forgot half of it. Then the first half of your lesson is trying to remember where you were, get back up to standard. And so you've only got like half an hour left. So I don't know. I find it more beneficial, which is why the more hours I do with someone, the less I charge per hour, because it means that you're all putting the time in. And yeah, I do offer crash courses. My rates at the moment is, let's think. Basically, I try to put people off with the 1 hour lessons because I prefer doing 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5. So I do 1 hour for £50, or 2 hour sessions for £45 an hour, or 3 hour sessions for £40 an hour. So basically, the more you do together, the more you learn. Like the less time you're kind of like, basically you can actually end up doing like, you if your first lesson you have a 3 hour lesson, I'm confident that we'll be like driving around Roundabout, stuff like that, getting a feel for the town that you're in, or if you come to Reading obviously, and then you can come away feeling like, wow, I actually like learned something today, rather than 1 hour where you just kind of got a feel for it, like you got used to the seat, you got comfy. Yeah, so I feel like crash courses, like you're saying, TJ, are better than just the drip feed stuff. Especially now, the thing that is painful about driving instructors is they've got this weird thing where some of them, the longest lesson I offer in a day is 6 hours, and it sounds long, but to be honest, like we've all gone to school and had a 6 hour day. We had 9 till 3, 6 hours. So you have, and like maybe a 45-minute lunch, a 20-minute break for like break time. I think it was something like that, 11 o'clock or something, which is what I do for intensive courses. I feel like 6 is too much. So I think 5's the sweet spot. So starting at like 10 till 3, doing 10 till 3, something like that, where you're not super tired from the night before. If you have a late night, 10 o'clock start, it's not that bad. Finish by 3, get on with the rest of your day. Or even like if you finish work at 5, some days, maybe once a week, you might be able to commit to like a 3 hour session, maybe, but it depends what your work is. But yeah, the longest lesson I've done is a 6 hour day. And that's with like the lunch break. We just go to, basically I do this thing where it's like whatever meal deal, their favorite meal deal is, they can just drive us to that shop. So usually it's Tesco's. If someone pushed the boat out, we'd go to M&S, but no one's done that yet. And how many hours would you suggest doing on a crash course? It depends on, obviously, your driving experience. It depends if you're doing auto or manual. And it also depends on like when your test is. 5 hours, is it? Yeah, 5 hours is, no. So, sorry, that's a good question. So 5 hours would be, all 5 of those hours are now £40 an hour, if that makes sense. So that's just the rate. As soon as you go past 3 hours, or more, if you're starting fresh on auto, so if you haven't done any driving lessons at all, automatic, I would say I would do 3 5-hour days. I wouldn't necessarily do them all on the same week. It depends on your test is. I would say get yourself ready for your test 2 weeks before. Make sure that you can pass your test 2 weeks before your test date. If you leave it till the very last week and you're like, oh, I need to squeeze in 2 more lessons like the night before or a couple of days before, then it's just adding more and more stress. And your stress levels are going to be like an extra 15% worse off than if you'd just, wait, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but basically stress is not good. It's better for you to be more prepared and chill that week coming up to it, rather than feeling like, oh, if I only just did one more thing, So, yeah, I would say 3 5-hour days is probably about the sweet spot for auto, where basically I never want to charge someone like, say, you need to do more time than you should, but also I don't want to leave people feeling like they were slightly underprepared. So it's hard to measure. Most people this month, so there's been a range of passes this month. A lot of them have been in under 10 hours with me, but they've had like a car that they could practice in like in between slots and sessions. So it's hard to know exactly. The one I would say, if you don't have a car, 20 hours is about right for auto. With my experience, it's going to be different with other instructors. And that's what I was going to say earlier, was basically instructors, because there's loads of like greed is in the world. People are greedy. And the instructor industry, driving lessons with the whole backlog and like whatever, instructors hard to find. It basically feels like learner drivers are your salary. And it can always feel like an instructor is just dragging out your lessons just to kind of give you give them a salary. Like they know every week I get this £50 or the £40 or however much they charge, and you might find that they're on their phone. I don't know if anyone's had experience with driving instructors. They're just sat on their phone. It winds me up because they're literally being paid to be a passenger, and they'll just look up every so often and say, oh yeah, next left here or something like that. And it stresses me out because it's like, I don't know how many of you know, but you can definitely just have your friends in your car, or if you can sit in your friend's car, you'll probably get more out of that lesson than you will with that driving instructor, because for £50 an hour, they're sat on their phone and not really even concentrating like where you're going. Sometimes you'll have to ask them, oh, where am I going here? Like at this roundabout, and they'll look up and say, oh yeah, just left, or something like that. It stresses me out. But those are the types of people that it's almost like they don't back themselves enough to like get people, like get fresh students in and pass people, and get fresh students in and pass people. So it's like the safety and security of keeping them. They know that instructors are in demand or whatever. Olivia, you got your theory test soon. Cool. How are you feeling about it? Have you got all the apps? Are you stressing? Do you do motorway lessons? Am I even allowed on the motorway as a learner? I do motorway lessons. I don't really call them motorway lessons. I just surprise the learner that I'm on by going on the motorway. But legally, you are allowed to go on a motorway. Don't click this before I finish it, whatever. But you are allowed to go on a motorway, but you need to have a fully qualified instructor. So that means when you get into your instructor's car, in the left-hand corner or on the top, they should have a green badge. Some of them might have a red badge. If they've got a red badge, it means they're on a training license, which is still legal for them to teach you, but they can't take you on a motorway. So you need a green badge. Your instructor needs a green badge, and they need dual control. So they need to have at least a brake to stop you from, or to be able to slow you down when you're on the motorway. So if you've got friends and family, they can't take you on a motorway, but someone like myself or other qualified instructors, they can take you on the motorway. So if you need to go motorway lessons, and if you want to do motorway lessons before you pass, you need a proper motorway. You can go on a motorway with a provisional license. All right, TJ, let me do the maths on that quickly. But you can go on a motorway with a provisional license, but you just need to make sure your instructor is fully qualified and that they have a brake pedal. But you can't go just like with your L plates, with your mum and dad or friends and family, whatever. You need to make sure everything is like, all the boxes are ticked. Because I took someone on a motorway the other day, and it caused beef in their house because their mum and dad were like, I can't believe you went on the motorway, that's illegal, da 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 da. And the learner was obviously like stressing because she was like, I don't know, like we just went on the motorway, I didn't know. So the next day, because she was doing intensive, she was asking, I was like, was that definitely all good? And then I was like, yeah, cool. It's all good. And then what do we have? There's another guy that, if I hadn't have said it, because we just went on the motorway, I didn't really explain that there's levels to what you can and can't do on a motorway. So he was planning to go on a motorway with his mum, I think to go to Wales or something like that. But yeah, so make sure you don't, because otherwise you'll just pin it on me saying that I said you could go on a motorway or something like that. So you can, but with an instructor. Okay, so TJ. Yeah, Olivia, the hazard perception tips, I would say, is not that you're asking. You said you're confident. But I would just say, like, you score in the points. So, like, as you watch the clip, if you were to, like, see the scores backwards, like, after the clip, you'd see that, like, oh, if you clicked at this point, you got 5 points, 4 points, 3, 2, 1. Sometimes you can click it when it's like, it felt like it was the perfect moment, but actually you were just too quick, and then you get 0 points before that 5-pointer. So basically I would just click, wait 1 second, click, wait 1 second, click. and then you covered all bases. You've got it like, if you nailed the hazard perception click like just before, if you got it in the middle or at the end, you're getting something. What you can't do, obviously, and no worries, TJ, not a problem. What you can't do is spam the clicks, because I did that when I was doing my theory test and it blocked me out. And I think that was when I was doing my instructor theory test. And basically there was like, I remember seeing there was like this tractor that was driving down the road, and I was like, for real, that's the hazard, like that's the thing. And then I clicked it, and then I was like, didn't really feel like it had become a hazard yet, but then I was like, okay, now it's probably the hazard. And then it was still like just following the road, like I could see it coming, and I was like trying to let them know I've spotted it, I've seen it. And then I clicked it one too many times. It crashed me out of that thing saying you click one too many times, whatever. And the annoying thing was about that clip was that clip had like the double pointer in it. I don't know, like, but there's some that have like, there's two hazards that you need to spot now. That one had both of them in, and I got kicked out of it both. So yeah, that was painful. I lost a lot of points on that one. But yeah, 3 second rule. That's like the thing I would say is the most useful tip that I was given and that I've found to be successful. So yeah. And yeah, clicking too early, man. It's like they give you no respect. I feel like what would be better if I was to redo the theory test, I would say, I would score it like a pyramid. Like, so 5 was the sweet spot. Like, that's where you get like the max points. And then if you were like half a second, like late, you get 4 points, 3, 2, 1. But if you were like half a second early, you get 4, 3, 2, 1 back the other way. I feel like then that'd be more real, because I feel like that cut off at 5, if that's the perfect bit, and you don't get anything for doing a half second before, it's crazy. I booked a test in Reading for this girl who lived in London, because it was cheaper for her to just get the half an hour train from Paddington to Reading, and we just start our lessons in Reading. It's cheaper for her to do that than to pay for my travel into London and come back again. And yeah, it's automatic. I stopped using the manual car last year. So now I'm just only doing automatic. And that's another point I wanted to talk about was I basically hate money. Like, money it stresses me out, and I get really uncomfortable with it, because it feels like, I'd rather do everything for free, which is so good for like doing lives like this and making content, because it feels like it's no one's losing out, like no one's missing out. And I'm just learning how to post the stuff and like answer questions and basically give useful content. But I hate like charging money, which is why for automatic, I felt like with manual, it was like lessons were dragging out loads. Like people, it just like, because there's lots of muscle memory, trying to learn how to use the clutch and stuff. And I felt like a villain charging money every week for somebody to like just had to practice in the car and get used to it. Just like things dragged on, and people were just putting so much money into it, especially if it was like it wasn't actually clicking with them. So I was like, you know what, let me just go to automatic. If I'm in automatic, at least then I can say to someone, I'm confident wherever you're at, in a day, I could get you to where you're comfortable driving around with your friends and family. Like, that's what I feel like I can do. And from that point, that means that I could spend 4 or 5 hours with somebody. Actually, let's be real. I feel like 5 hours, probably, if it's 6 hours, maybe, then I'd be confident most people that come to me for lessons wouldn't need me until like a month before their test, because that means that what we've gone over that day has been not just like they know how to drive a car, but they also understand what the examiners are looking for in like the different areas of the test, because that's another thing that stresses me out sometimes, a lot of the time, even for the last 2 years, I say sometimes, is instructors and examiners, I feel like, are gatekeepers to how to pass the test, in the sense of like, you know, when you're in a driving lesson and then you do something wrong and the instructor's like, oh, you would have failed for that. And you're like, cool, but why? Like, not just don't do that, do this, but explain to me why, like what's going on. And it just annoys me. And so I feel like in that like one day that I usually do with people, I would say the most important thing is to one, be able to do the stuff like how to approach a roundabout or a T junction or stuff like that. But also why we're doing the certain things, like how that applies to the driving test, what the examiners are looking for, so that when you go out with your friends and family or your friends and family, or maybe your driving instructor, like you do other driving, at least then you've got a little bit of a deeper understanding, so that when you come up to a weird situation that you haven't like come across before, then at least from that point you haven't you're not just a robot following instructions. You're actually okay. So I know that when I want to move or when I want to slow down, I need to check if I'm going to affect somebody else, for example, or the reason why when I come up to this junction, I check this mirror and this mirror. I know the reason why. If you don't know the reason why, when something weird comes up, you might not like roll straight into that automatic routine that you're kind of that you've been taught by your instructor. There's like, if you're just a robot driving in stress and you don't really know what you're doing, you're just kind of like following a pattern. But if you start to clock why, then if you start to clock why you're doing something, or you understand the reasons why, it just makes it a lot easier. So if we do that on a day, then when you're driving with your mum, dad, friends, whatever, you'll start to be able to self-coach yourself. You'll be able to explain if someone says, oh, like, why do you do that? Because to be honest, the people you're driving with who are helping you learn to drive, whether it's friends, family, whatever, it's been a while since they've done their test probably. So they're not going to know the criteria. But if in one day, if I can teach you as much as I can about what the examiners are looking for, you can kind of be your own instructor. Is it true that there's an examiner pass fail quota? Not that I know of. I've never sat in a test with an examiner or even came away from an exam feeling like the student that I sent in was either hard done by or that they didn't get the correct result. And I feel like driving test results have been pretty much the same for like 40 years, like roughly around 50% or something like that. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because the standards of driving has increased, so it needs to like, we need to keep raising the bar of what a good driver is. And as we learn different things, as new rules get implemented, stuff like that. But if they, like, for example, or Ali saying, if they need to clear the backlog, obviously it will, they would just pass more people. But the knock-on effect to that would be more expensive to fix, like the crashes and the road. Like, I'm trying to think what I actually heard about that was like, I think it's just the UK economy in general or something like that. Like, if we had such bad drivers being like just let through for one generation or a couple of years of bad drivers, then money's not going to go well. Something like that. I don't really know. Like, I don't understand the maths of it. But either way, I don't feel like there's a pass-fail quota. I feel like, do you know what I actually think? I actually feel like your instructor has probably been a bit of a yes man by saying like, you definitely should have passed or you're ready to pass. And your internal voice is saying, I'm ready to pass. And then when they say you failed, it's almost like you can't comprehend that, like, what's happening. And so if when you finish, your instructor's like, yeah, nah, there's no way, you definitely should have passed, that's BS from them, whatever, because they probably didn't prepare you for it enough. That just like cycles the hype of that kind of whole dynamic of like, I'm not ready, examiners have got a like thing against me or quota that they have to meet. Like, I say forget that, just do well. Like, and you can only do well by putting the hours in or going somewhere that has good information. Like, because if you're getting fed misinformation, like, spread out a little bit. Don't just stick with one guy. Online is useful. People that you trust, obviously in the real world, are going to be real, but then not exactly experts, but they did pass their test if they did. So try and get a range of different opinions. Obviously, ChatGPT is something useful just for checking different things. Things like this, Q&As with instructors. To be honest, the government website's pretty good for like, I don't know if I can even put, I'm not even going to bother trying to put a link in the thing. Am I going to try? No, I'm not going to try it. But basically, I think there's a ready to pass campaign on the government website, but within there somewhere there's like a thing that like, if you failed, these are the things that for this section, these are the things. Are you under AA or BSM scheme? I'm not, because it's kind of interesting. In my first year of learning how to become a driving instructor, I basically got trained. I had to do a theory test. I had to do a practical test, which is exactly the same that you learners are going to do as well. Your theory test, it was like a little bit more complicated. There were some bits that were involving like health and safety in the car, and being an instructor, spill the tea. Being an instructor, like the theory of it, like teaching methods and stuff like that. But it was basically the same. Like you go into the theory test center, wherever yours is, same room, same computers. Then you have to do, with Red, I had to do like another 10 hours of practical training. Like I don't know if I'm recording this live, to be honest. I have no idea. I did see a thing that was like, this might be in the archive for the next 30 days. So, yeah, I don't know. If you're asking so that I can make some clips or something, and yeah, you can message. I've also got my laptop up here as well, so I can see messages. But you can message anyway, whatever. Yeah, when I was training to be an instructor, we basically had to do the theory test. Then we did 10 hours of practical driving test, which is basically, it's the exact same as a learner driver test. So all your instructors would have done another like a learner driver test, but they just have like a higher standard that they have to reach. So where you're allowed 15 minors, I think the limit was like 6 minors or 5 or 6 minors. And I actually got 1 minor in the thing, which is kind of like a humble brag / I was annoyed that I actually got 1, which because I didn't know what I was going to do, but I ended up getting 1. And it annoyed me because it was awkward at the start. You know, they asked you to tell me questions. The guy was like, right, can you show me how to check your hydraulic brake fluid? And honestly, I'm not going to lie, the car that I was in, I hadn't even checked under the bonnet. I didn't check anything. I never checked the oil of my cars. I never do anything like that. So when they said, can you check, no worries. When they said, can you check the hydraulic brake fluid? I was like, I don't even know what that is. Nor did I know that I was responsible for checking it. So I just popped the bonnet and like just slowly, like doing everything slowly just to kind of like delay so I can think about what on earth is this thing. And me and the examiner were just like standing there awkwardly, just staring at the inside of my car, the engine. And he could see me. I was just like scanning around like, okay, so I know it's not that thing because that's where you do the windscreen washer, and it's not that because that's got the oil sign. Honestly, I just was floating around. I didn't even give him an answer. I just said to him, I think we should just move on, and I'll just take the minor. And he was like, okay, no worries, like gave me the mark. And then I thought that was the end of the awkwardness. But then as we did the drive, we got to the end of the test and I hadn't crashed the car. Like I felt like I was confident that like it was all good. But then he said, oh, you got 1 driving fault. And I was like, oh, interesting. I'd like to know what that is. And he said, oh, would you like to know what your driving fault was? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. And when I realized in hindsight, a driving fault counted as the question that I got wrong at the start. So he looked at me as if like I was mugging him off or something like that. So I was just like, yeah, I'd love to know. and he was like, well, it was the question you got wrong at the start, obviously. And I was like, oh, this is just, I was like, okay. And then he literally just left straight away. It was so awkward. But yeah, so that is the second. So you have the theory test, then you have the driving test, and then is the long bit, which I thought was going to be the easiest bit, because I was stressed about that driving test. Like, driving tests in general just stress me out. Like, I'm only just now recovering, I think, from, because I failed once when I was younger for my driving test and I passed on the second time. I feel like I had some PTSD attached to that driving test center, because even when I became an instructor, when I was taking people to that test center, I was sat in the waiting room, like, stressed. Like, I remember this exact feeling for the learner that I'm with. I'm stressed here. Like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm not enjoying, like, that this person is standing between the learner that I'm teaching and them having, like, independence and freedom, and also they're going to have to wait ages until they get another test if this person fails now. So yeah, it was just like, it was weird. But yeah, so we did that, and then there's, like, you have to do 40 hours of I think it's 40 hours of learning how to teach from that point. And then if you want to go on to teach people whilst you're training, you need to do another 20 hours first. So basically you do 60 hours of training to be an instructor, and then you get your pink license that we talked about earlier. So the one that you can still teach people to drive, but you can't take them on the motorway. So I got that license, and from there, it's supposed to be like, you just learn how to be an instructor and you're allowed to get paid if you get that license. If you don't do that route, you can choose to just do the 40 hours. You don't get a pink license, and you just do lessons for free if you want, like, just as if you're like friends and family with people. And then you can just sit the next exam, which is the instructor exam, whenever you want or whenever you get booked. If I was to do it again, I feel like I might have done it that way, because when you're like on that pink license, you feel like, I can earn money now, so I should be earning money, I should be charging money. But every one of those lessons, you're trying to be a professional. You're not trying to be a learner, like a learning driving instructor. You're not trying to improve as much. The more pressure it is, or the more you charge people money, then the more you feel like, I can't try and learn this environment. So I felt like when I was charging people, I would charge like £3 or £4 under per hour, just so that I felt like I was justifying, like, that cheaper price, because I'm still learning, and they're not getting like a maximum, they're not getting the fully qualified instructor. Even though if you get that pink license as an instructor, you can charge whatever you want. A friend of mine who was learning at the time, learning to be an instructor at the time, he was charging the hourly rate of everyone else in the area, just like he was a normal instructor. And in my heart, I was a bit like, oh man, that's like, I guess I was jealous, like, that he was up for charging that much and I couldn't. I felt awkward. I had to undercharge. But yeah, if I was to do it again, I would do lessons for free while I had another job. So I would work a normal job, getting my, like, regular income in, and then I would just help people on the side, like in the evenings, in the mornings or whatever, do like a little 1 hour, 2 hour lesson, just to build the skills ready for that final test. How much do I charge for lessons? There was a word that I was like, there's a familiar word that I'm missing. But yeah, so I was a bit nervous when I came into this industry being an instructor, because I was like, everyone's proper old, and also instructors are usually the kind of people that are like quite like rigid, or examiners are, at least. So that's why I felt like instructors were also quite rigid. They're the kind of personalities which, like, try to learn the rules of things quite meticulously, and I felt like that was not a bit of me. Like, it felt like that was going to be like, I'm quite chill. I'm quite a chill guy, which means that, like, maybe my personality is a little bit more ADHD. Like, I'm less like, rigid and like you have to do this or you do things like this XYZ. Yeah, definitely more chill. So when it comes to like driving stuff, I always felt like, am I allowed to do this? Like as a youngster, like I know I'm not a youngster, like I've got the beard now. I'm sure there's some grey hairs coming out somewhere. I'm not young, but I'm young for an instructor. Which has its pros and cons. Like some people prefer to know somebody is like you were saying, like they're super old. Maybe not the rude and patience free, but if they're old, it at least means that they've been driving for a while, so they probably know what they're talking about. The way I'm viewing it now is that like, yes, they're old. They've done it for a while, but some things are like, if they've learned a bad habit or how to teach or even how to do something, it's going to be hard for them to change over time. Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know if I've never got verified for ADHD, but I feel like my head is always going off to everything. And that might just be the world that we're in. And other people are further up the scale than I am. But, yeah, my brain's just maxing out. And especially now trying to do this like Instagram, social media, make my own business something. My head is always thinking about something. Like I've always got ideas, dreams. Oh, I could do this. I could do this. Like even just now, like doing this Instagram live, I was like, I feel like doing an Instagram live. And then I was like, I don't even know if I have access to Instagram live. I don't know what button you press. I don't know where it is. I don't know what you're supposed to do. But so I'm surprised that it's still going. That's why I need you to teach me before my parents teach me. Yeah, that's the thing. So you can go either way. So some people say, I think on the official data that came out a long time ago, which they haven't really updated, is basically you should do 40 hours of driving lessons, 20 hours with like friends and family, whatever. On average, that's what it takes to pass the test. And for some people, they hardly need any driving lessons, and they just spend all their time driving at home, driving to the shops, back and forth or wherever, which can do really well for some people. For some people, I remember there was this one boy that every time we had a driving lesson, we'd fix loads of things. And then 1 week later, oh my days, the habits that he'd picked up. He'd been driving so much, he became just like a normal driver again. And I was just like, I don't know how we're going to like, it's up to you. If you want to drive with your parents, do that. But I would say if you can spend enough time, maybe even just like 5 hours worth with an instructor, just to get the basics and understanding of like what the examiners are and aren't looking for. Having said that, do you know what? I might try and make something where you guys, who if you're learning to drive, can like have like a checklist for what is, I'm talking about checklists all over the place, but if I can make something that's like, this is actually what the examiners are looking for, and this is what they're not looking for, or if you do this, you're going to get a fault or not, something like that. Is that the kind of thing that would be useful? Just so that when you, driving with your parents definitely will give you bad habits. Is that the kind of thing that would be useful to some people? I don't really know the best way to even make it, but one of the things I was thinking was like, if you do go drive with your parents or friends or family, then maybe I could make like a little sheet that you could print out, or I could maybe make it more like a whiteboard. I don't know. I feel like I'm overcomplicating it. But if there's something you could, you're right, Alex, one of my learners, you guys might have seen Alex from the most recent post. Nice to see you. But yeah, if I could make something that's like, when you drive with friends or family, then after you drive, because they're not supposed, it's probably best that they're not like writing or something while you're driving, because they should be looking after you and making sure the steering wheel. If your mum's getting beeped all the time, I would say she might not be the best choice for, she might not be the best choice of like a supervisor if you're trying to learn how to drive. But she might know what she's doing. It might be the other people. But if I could make a checklist that you guys could print out, which basically explains to you when you go for a drive, you can like fill it in. Actual question: if someone failed their test but can't get a retest for months, should they carry on learning or wait a couple of months before trying again? 100% stop the learning. That's what I'd say. I would 100% keep people like, I would, if I was teaching somebody and they failed their test, I would say, let's take a pause, focus on getting the test to start with. And once we've got your test, either get a cancellation, and when you get a cancellation, then we can, so you get two routes from that basically is like either get your cancellation, and then, I would probably do lessons with them if they were super, super keen and they were like, I want to pass like ASAP. So I'd probably carry on the lessons with them and then pay for like lastminutetest.com, whatever. That's not actually the website, although I wonder what that does. Lastminutetest.com. If anyone wants to pick up the domain name lastminutetest.com, you might be able to make some money from that, because that isn't a website at the moment. But if they wanted to get a last minute test, I would probably recommend to just carry on doing lessons. But if they're chill about it and they're like, I'm not really too stressed. There was someone who I did like 6 hours with in the evenings, and she was like, I didn't really know, I didn't really care about doing my driving test. Someone at work said I should do it. I don't need a car, whatever. And then she failed her test, and she was like, yeah, I'm probably just not going to sit a driving test again. Like, and I was like, what? Like, my head was like, the only people I've been working with are people that want to pass their test. So it was just a strange, like, thing. But different people have different, like, opinions on driving tests and how important it is to them. So I'd say if it's super important and you need it, like, ASAP, so you can go to a job, you can do whatever, I would say just carry on doing lessons. Because you obviously do need to improve something. The worst thing I've seen is like someone who was learning before COVID, got to a pretty good place before their test. Then COVID hit. They couldn't do their test. Then they didn't do any lessons through COVID. Then they had a new instructor, got pretty good again, failed their test for something, and then from that point just completely bailed and was like, right, I'm not gonna do any more lessons until I get a new instructor or whatever, and they just put it on the back burner. And I feel like she must have spent over £2,000, maybe even more, across that time, and spent at least 3.5 years, if not more, doing driving lessons on and off. So I feel sad for learners who feel like they're in that position where they have to stop, but then it's so hard to start back up again, because you kind of get back into your flow, like you take the train to work or you get lifts with a colleague or something like that. So any tips on theory test? I would say the only two tips I give people is smash the apps out. Like, get any apps you can. Once you've used it up, once you've done all the questions, you're bored of it, just get another app, just smash it out. Once you've done all the apps, like, and then the other tip I'd say was the hazard perception, which is literally just click 1, 2, 3, the 3-second click that we talked about earlier. I would also say that you can swap your theory test dates to sooner. I know this is not the question you're asking, Olivia, but I had someone who, she's pretty good at driving actually, but she hadn't even done her theory test yet. And when she booked her theory test in Reading, it was in October, was the earliest she could get. And I was like, no, not the theory test book, like, waiting list as well. Like, surely they can't both be backlogged. You don't need examiners for it. So I don't know why it's such a mess. But what I would say is you can swap test dates around really easy with theory tests. It's not as complicated. It's not as there's not as many people fighting for it. I think the day that I tried out swapping her theory test around, I found one for the next Monday or something like that. So if you have a theory test which is far away, don't just settle for that date. Get one earlier. I had one of my friends back in the day, literally just came to England, needed to get his license, booked his theory test, and he was like, "Oh, I'll be fine. Like I've done these kind of things before, whatever." 2 days before, just smashed out all the apps, passed the theory test. I'm not saying it's that easy. I'm just saying it's just a mindset shift, and if you just work hard at it, smashing the apps out before you go to bed, lunchtime, whatever, you're just kind of in the flow. You're just getting, it's just multiple choice at the end of the day where you're such in the flow. Take it as a game. Like on the app, you're trying to get the high score, whatever. And on the day, you're doing exactly the same. You're just trying to max out the high scores. So I hope that helps a little bit, Olivia. Like, tips on passing the driving test. That's the big question. So basically, our biggest tip for driving test stuff is the examiner has like a responsibility. Like they're not a bad guy. Their responsibility is to make sure that everybody else on the test, but mainly after the test, is safe if you're going to be driving. So if you reframe it to like, instead of this is the guy that's going to stop me from being able to drive to work, this is the guy that's going to stop me from like going to another country or whatever, anything like that. If you stop framing it like that and more like, this is the person who's the final blocker between dodgy drivers who are currently not allowed on the road because they can't drive, and just anyone can drive. And I know people could drive illegally or whatever, but imagine if that examiner, if their standard was a lot lower, then your friends and family who are out on the road are now at risk to those dodgy drivers. So if you see the examiner as like, okay, this person's main job is to keep everybody else safe on the road. If you have it like that, then what's your job when you're doing your driving test? Is to keep everybody safe on the road, because they just want proof that you can do that. So every time you come to a roundabout, prove to them that you care about the other people on the roundabout. Like every time they get you to stop on the side of the road, every time you move off, prove to them that you care about the other people that are in the environment, if that makes sense. So if you were just like sat at the side of the road and they said, right, drive on when you're ready, and all you do is like a quick little check and then drive off, you're not really showing them that you care enough about what you could have seen in the mirror to think about how might change that, whatever. Think of other examples. When you're no one's safe when I'm on the road. Valid. Yeah, so, but your mum's through now, like, so it is what it is. Like, the examiners back in the day, who knows? I'm not here to cast judgment on anyone who's driving. To be honest, like, driving standards are going to slip from the moment you pass. It's almost like, when you buy a new car. I've never bought a new car, but when you buy a new car, the value instantly drops. Didn't you drive the wrong way around the roundabout? Wow, I'm getting called out on the live stream. Yes. You all have seen it. No one needs to talk about it. But if you didn't watch to the end of the video, you're going to think that I'm a mug. And to be honest, I thought I was in the wrong until I watched the end of the video. So, yeah, cheers for calling that out, David. But yeah, Nissi, like, I'm glad that you appreciate it like that. So I kind of feel like, and to go back to Roxanne's question, like, main driving test tip for me, and I posted it as a I don't know what it's called, carousel earlier today for the first time. Tried doing that. And basically the golden rule is treat others as you'd like to be treated. And I really feel like that is true for the driving test. Like, if you were driving down a road, someone's parked on the side of the road in front of you, and just as you're driving past them, you put your indicator on, or you start driving out in front of them, that's going to stress you out. It's going to make you brake. It's going to make you do like something that you weren't planning to do. Yeah, Ethan, this is a slow transition into a church. I've lulled you. I've been working on this driving instructor thing, but really what I'm here for is just to preach. But yeah, I'm glad the transparency is useful to you, Olivia. Like, I assume you're talking about from the roundabout video, because I remember actually, I'm pretty sure, David, I was with you that day actually. So I'd gone up to Manchester that day. after the roundabout event thing, and at that point I didn't actually know. So obviously probably everyone's watched it. The first time I come up to the roundabout, obviously the sign's pointing to the right. For the moment I crossed past that sign, and then the road workers were shouting at me saying, "You need to check your license." Da 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 da. I actually forgot what I'd seen on the sign. Like, I had no idea. I was like, how did I end up on this side of the roundabout? Like, I'd been trusting the old version of me had seen the signs and gone the right way or whatever. But at that point, I completely forgot. I was just like, well, I'm an idiot and we're in the wrong position and it must be all my fault. So I was a little bit stressed, as you can imagine. So when those road worker guys were shouting at me, I was like, this is awkward and this is my fault. And why am I an instructor? This is terrible. And then, as you see later on, I'm trying to process it. And the person that I was teaching, Emanuela, who now passed, she passed last month with like 3 minors, which was cool. But yeah, she was really like kind, because she could tell the vibe was off in the car. She was like, are you still thinking about it? The moment she asked that, I was like, yeah, we need to go back to check out like what's happening, like what's going on. And when we came back round, obviously the sign had changed again, but I didn't know it had changed. So that sign was then pointing to the left. So then I was like, this is stressful. I really need to quit my job, because this is just like, it's just going horrendously. The road workers were correct. Like, I'm an idiot. How did I miss this sign going to the left? So that was stress. And then, I was going up to Manchester. It was either that day or, yeah, I feel like it was that day. And I was explaining to David, and a couple of our mates, I was like, guys, the weirdest thing to me happened. The weirdest thing happened to me today. And I was trying to explain that, like, yeah, we went around the wrong way around the roundabout, and like it was all my fault, and like the signs were pointing one way, I thought they were pointing the other way, and then I wanted to like try and, I watched it back, and then it all made sense to me. Like, it all made sense what was going on, and I was like, oh my days, I've just been gaslighted by these road workers, and they switched it over halfway through. You've all seen the video, which is fine, but yeah, that did stress me out. And then that's when I was like, I need to make a video about this, because I feel like this is, I feel like people would want to watch this. And then, yeah, from there, obviously, I think it's on like 9.5 million views, or maybe even 10 million at some, like close to that now, which is crazy, because when I posted it, I had 50 followers. I didn't know anything about like social media stuff. I hadn't posted in a year from when I posted that roundabout video. It had literally been a year since I'd posted on social media. To the point where I didn't even post it on this account. I posted it on my personal account. I didn't know I was on the wrong one. I didn't have that many checks. And my brother Ali, obviously, told me, he's like, yeah, just like switch it to your other account, whatever. But yeah, it was a stressful time, but it led to like me wanting to push in doing all this, Instagram stuff. It's led to like people from London and Southampton, like earlier, Olivia, Bournemouth, like people just, asking for lessons that are like not in Reading. So would you take on new instructors or guide people into getting into the career? To be honest, there's mixed opinions about becoming an instructor. Like, I would love to teach people how to become an instructor, like, not because I've done it for a long time or because I feel like I'm the bee's knees or whatever, but it is a good job. If you can make sure, you don't take yourself too seriously. You don't take the driving test too seriously to the point where you're like putting anxiety on yourself and your learners. Like, there's definitely like different personalities work better or worse with it. But I wouldn't say that my personality is the best for being an instructor, but also there's other types of personalities that, like, depends who you are, whatever. If you like, seeing people hit milestones for themselves. So I guess in the same way, like a PT, they're in a place where they're like helping people get fit, get their six pack, or be able to run their 5K in their record time. Like it's quite an encouraging, like, what do you call it? Good job satisfaction kind of job. But this is where things are a bit weird in the UK at the moment. If you want to become a driving instructor, you need to do a theory test, which is not that hard to book. Like same as like driving tests for learners. It's a little bit of a backlog, whatever. But then the driving test after that, you need to sit same as a learner. That has got a bit of a backlog on it. From that point, to get your training license isn't a problem, but you probably won't be able to get a test to become a fully qualified instructor. They just seem to really struggle with keeping that up at the moment. So it's kind of a good profession to get into. If you wanted to spend 2 years doing a job and you've driven for 3 years, which is basically the only criteria, then it's a pretty good job to get into. But it can be stressful. Like the first year, I was basically just doing an internship. Like the amount I was paying Red Driving School was £245 a week for use of their car and for them to give me students. But imagine £235 a week is times 4.3, which is £1,010. I need to see my voice to be fair. So I was paying Red Driving School £1,010 a month before I could earn any money. So at the time I was undercharging because I was training. So I was charging like £32 an hour. I was working part-time because we had a 2-year-old, and my wife was training and working, and there was just not that much time in the week that I could work. So I was undercharging and I wasn't working enough time. So basically every week I would earn about £1,000. So I had to pay Red £1,000. Sorry, every month I would earn about £1,000. So I was basically break even every month for the first year of becoming a driving instructor, which was stress. And there was people talking about like it would have been better for me to be like on the what do you call it? Like government like benefit system. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, basically getting money when you're unemployed. Why is that escaping me? Because we were getting some money from it from the UK because we had a child under 2 or something. I don't know what. I'm forgetting all these things now, but not. But having said that, with lots of skills, whether it's driving, whether it's like business, whether it's your job that you're doing, like sometimes it can feel like you are putting work into something which is just like you're not seeing the results straight away, and it can be really disheartening. Whether it's learning to drive or it's doing another skill, if you're not getting the results instantly, especially when we're in a world where like everything is like so instant, like you watch a video, it's instant. You reply, when you comment the word something and I'll DM you. You comment it, you get a reply instantly. Like everything is so quick. Amazon, like you're getting deliveries, whatever. With this thing, I was putting in the work. I was basically felt like I was hustling, but I wasn't getting anywhere financially. Exactly, yeah. And I had to stick it out. And even now, like I'm spending time doing the social media stuff and trying to like make resources and stuff like that, which on the face of it is not really building. I'm not seeing any money from it. And it's not like, so I got to try and make a balance between doing stuff which is going to like provide, for my family, but also I'm trying to like build stuff which in the long run is going to be more useful, like good return on investment. People talk about like putting into the S&P 500 and stuff like that, you get 10% back. For me, I feel like I'm trying to invest in me skills wise and resources for other learners so that in the long run, more gets out of it. Because obviously I'm now like reaching 5 people, and earlier it was 10. I don't know who's come in and who's come out, but I feel like I could reach more people by doing stuff online, digitally. Obviously, we know that, but I'm just saying, like, it's not super obvious when it's like you're just on your grind, like you're day in, day out, go do your work, like, but trying to do stuff that's a little bit more can reach people for per minute. So I don't know how long we've been in this live. Maybe there's been some like value that some people have got from it. Then if I was just in one lesson teaching one person how to drive, at least then after this, there's been more people that have been, oh, okay, like, you know, what we were talking about earlier about like the golden rule for when you're doing a driving test, like just look after people when you're driving. And then from that point, if 4 or 5 people picked up that, they might have, that's basically more value I could give than if I didn't speak to you and I just did one lesson with you in a month's time or something like that. We can try and get these like Q&As happening more, more questions, more things that people are like, oh, like with this thing, I don't really understand this about the driving test, or with that, like, and if you've got that question, it sounds cringy. Now I'm in a position where I'm like, can answer questions. It feels weird, but when you ask a question, somebody else probably, if not in this live or in around this, like somebody's got that question as well. If you're thinking it, it's been asked before. So, or it will be asked in the future. So I feel like the more things that I can either answer here or make resources that are kind of, are going to be always useful for people that are trying to sit their driving test, then I feel like I'm doing a good thing. Like that's my hope. And do you know what? Ages ago, who was it? Nissy, you know, when you said how long we've been driving instructor, the thing that I was going to say was, I feel like, how many hearts does an octopus have? Wait, I was about to go deep there. I'll come back to the deepness. How many hearts does an octopus have? I'm saying 3. I was going to say 8, 1 for each thing, but I feel like it's probably not that. So I'm going to just say 3, because 4 would be weird maths, unless he has 2 per thing. But if anyone else has got the answer to that before Ethan reveals how many hearts an octopus has. Anyway, if you just joined looking for driving instructor stuff, I'm sorry that you cut at the wrong time. We're talking about octopus hearts, but 3, no way. Is that actually? What can I say? What can I say? I don't know what I can say. I feel like, no, because see, this is where my brain just goes off. I was thinking, oh, that would be a cool design for the 3 of hearts. If you had a pack of cards and it was like an octopus, and then there was just like a little, no one know that's why the pictures of the octopus on there. But then I was thinking it would be kind of long to think of an animal for every other card or whatever. But so before I was a driving instructor, I was a chauffeur. So I was a private driver for a family. And when I was doing that, I was doing an advanced driving, got my advanced driving qualification because I thought it'd be useful. After I finished that job, I was like, what can I do next? Driving instructing kind of flows nicely. But I feel like there's instructors in the world, in the UK, wherever, old ones, that are kind of like, they're coming to the end of their time. They don't really care about changing things. They don't really like, their reputation is built up enough that even if people like quit or give them bad reviews, they're still going to get enough work. For me, there's 2 things that I feel like that are fueling me. Is one of them is the sights that I'm setting on like where I want to go and how many people I want to reach with like useful driving stuff, like unclogging some of the miscommunication or misinformation about driving tests. There's that whole side of things. But then the other side is like, I'm fresh, I'm new, like I've got stuff to prove. I've got like, I'm up against people that have like been in the game for like 35 years, 40 years, that are just doing this like it's their bread and butter. But some things I feel like they're doing things weirdly, or they're not doing things as efficiently. Like that's my like competition. That's the people that I'm trying to like, they're not like, I'm not trying to beat them down, but I just want to do better than, like, I feel like, I want to do better for the learners of this next group of people that are trying to learn how to drive. Like, there's a lot of, oh yeah, I've said it a lot in this live stream, that like there's a lot of messiness around instructors. There's a lot of greediness. There's a lot of like sitting back, just letting the learners bring in the money. Yeah, like their salary or something like that. Like, so the more I can do, like, if I can provide you more value with these Q&As or with the reels that I'm making, than you can get in like a 1 hour lesson, I've done my job. Like, I'm trying to make driving more affordable on a big scale. And the reason why I've charged, like, I charge £50 an hour now. I kind of want to push back on that time so that I can spend more time doing this. So that if someone says, I don't care that it costs that, let me do it. Happy days, I don't mind. But if it was any like less and less and less, then it's less time that I can do this stuff, the less time I'm editing. Like, I don't have an editor, I don't have like an assistant or anything like that. Obviously, this is like a small live stream. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just asking things as we go. I'm answering things as we go. Yeah, sorry about that if that was a random rant from nothing. But I don't even know who's here and who's not here. So right now, if you're learning to drive, is there any reason why you couldn't sit the driving test tomorrow? Like, what is holding you back? Like, what's the thing? If you had your driving test tomorrow, why would you not be able to pass it? What's the thing? Oh, here we go. So while I've asked that to anyone who's learning, who's in the chat, I'm going to answer this question. How long does a sloth take to digest a leaf? Okay. I'm going to say, I feel like sloths eat slowly, but I reckon, oh no, do you reckon they digest fast or slow? I'm going to say, do they eat slowly? They eat slowly. I'm going to say 1 hour. Or it's going to be long. It's going to be 2 weeks. I feel like it's going to be 2 weeks because 1 hour is too easy. I'm going to say it takes a sloth do you know what? I'm going to say 1 month. Final answer. Sloth takes 1 month to digest a leaf. Sorry if you joined thinking that this was a driving instructor Q&A. It technically is, but the questions I'm being asked right now are so rogue. But I feel like I'm being respectful enough to answer these random questions. So if you want to put a question in the chat, no way what? Has he got it 3 out of 3? No, you're lying. You're trolling me. Nah. It's a month. Oh my days. No, you're lying. Is it actually? I can't believe I've done that. Have I actually done that? No, he's trolling me. I bet he's trolling me. But yeah, so if you actually have to be honest, I don't know. Can I see who's in there? Yeah, that was a little bit of a sketchy video to put out, to be honest, because it wasn't sketchy, because obviously if you watch the whole video, like, you know, or you saw at the end, it was all good. But, it was a weird thing to put out. Like, obviously the internet thought it was crazy. Like, I don't know if it just like hit some perfect middle ground where like people were kind of shocked and surprised by what was happening. People who didn't watch the whole thing were like annoyed at me for being a bad instructor. And then people who did watch the whole thing were like super supportive of me as an instructor. And it just meant that there was like two sides to like this war in the chat, where some people were saying like, this guy's a dead instructor, like this guy does need to get his license checked, this guy's like terrible. And then the other side were like the people who watched the whole video, and they were like defending me, like, you need to watch the whole video, like, what are you chatting about, all this stuff. And it just meant that like the comments were just popping off without me doing anything really. And I think that's why, and also because, not that this is turning into like how to make a viral video thing, but it's just from what I've learned, like, people also stayed till the end of that video. And it's not a long video, but it's longer than most reels. well, that's probably not true, but I just made it up. But yeah, it's quite a long video. It's not like a 10-second, but also people watched it like a second time as well to kind of like get their head around what happened with the signs and what's going on. So yeah, it was a pretty like crazy. It was a crazy thing, and the reach. Do you know what I noticed from that is, so you came from that video. Most people on my page came from that video, or they came from. I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Tara. They either saw that video and then they stuck around and like followed and stuff like that. Thanks for the encouragement. Yeah, they us like you, for example, Tara. Like you came in, seen the video. Like you're here from. I don't even know when I posted that. Was it March maybe? But then from that, other people like Katie Franklin, who's the influencer, who she messaged me saying, "I've just seen this video. Do you want to do lessons with me?" Because she wants to film it and stuff like that, and which was wild to me because at the time when I posted this video, I had 50 followers, and then so to get anybody message me to say, "Oh, would you like to do lessons? Can we film it, put it out?" Like you just said, like I am a pretty chill guy when it comes to driving stuff. Like it's not like, and probably I'm a pretty chill guy in general. Like as you can judge from these Q&As, whatever. So it just I guess what people saw from that video was like a little bit of an insight into like when something goes wrong, or when it's like when there's a chance that I should hold my hands up, that I do, because other instructors or in any other place, in every other industry, if you get something wrong, it's so easy for all of us to like hide behind an excuse, or like, oh no, that must have been this, or it was this person's fault, it's definitely not me, because we don't like to feel like we did anything wrong. Like that's just the world we're kind of in. We feel like everyone's judging us all the time. But in that moment, I knew nothing about what had happened with the signs. I was just like, wow, all I can say is this is definitely my fault. Like it must be, like the proof is there. The signs are the other way around. Even though when I watched it back, obviously, they weren't. They'd been switched. But yeah, so what I noticed though, the reason why I've started putting out content now more frequently is because there's loads of stuff that's happening in the driving lessons, that the ones that I'm filming, like there's stuff that other people might be able to learn from, that either aren't doing lessons or can't afford to have lessons, or just want like a different perspective from their current driving instructor, or they might have already passed, whatever. That's like just there for the vibes. But if I can document as much as possible and put out little bits and bobs, that even if one person's like, oh, that makes sense, like now I understand that's why they're doing that. That's the kind of value that I think will, if I tell myself that that's why I'm doing it, is to like provide more value to more people, for people to eventually not need me because they passed their test. Happy days. I think that's the goal. That's what I've said to myself for a while, is like, even before I did any social media, I told learner drivers that my job was to put myself out of a job. And I think that's my issue with other driving instructors. Not all of them, but like some of them that just kind of treat learners as just that salary. It just kind of stresses me out a little bit. But everyone is doing life in their own way. Like sometimes you can't hate on other people's, like the way they're doing it. You can only be in control of what your the way you want to do things. My first instructor definitely just wanted my money. Did so many lessons where I thought I was learning and progress, then realized he was dragging out just so I'd have to do more lessons. 100%. Like it is just such like, it's weird because I don't really like hating on other people, especially my own competitors, but also like I do want to call things out when it's like things are inappropriate, like, and not fair or just. Failed twice with him, changed, and made me realise he didn't teach me half the stuff I needed, and I passed first time with a new instructor that I got for a friend. To be honest, that's exactly the same thing that happened to me, apart from the failing twice, but I ended up with 3 different instructors. So what, Ethan, just if you don't mind like leaning into that a little bit, like what kind of stuff were you guys doing? Was he like asking you to do things in a lesson, or was he Like, was he just not doing anything? Was he on his phone? Like, what was that like actually looking like in your day-to-day lessons, if you can remember? Because I had my first driving instructor. I feel like I went through the whole scale of different driving instructors. My first driving instructor was this old lady who was super, super strict. And it was just not good vibes. Like, it felt like it was just, I felt like it was in like an old school, you know, back in the day where they had like rulers and they like slapped your wrist. She didn't slap me or anything like that. But yeah, it was just, he didn't teach me a hill start. Then I did 2 tests in High Wycombe and that's all hills. Yeah, to be fair, I feel like he's missed something there. He's missed a key bit of what that test preparations are going to be. And that's actually a good point for anybody who's listening at the moment who has a test coming up. The industry, like the thing that we're in at the moment, is people are doing tests. Just drove around a housing estate every week for an hour a week. Yeah. You have to, like, you either have to know the test centre that you're going to. If you've got a test booked in somewhere which is like not your hometown, I would definitely do some research, because some of you are not going to be able to you're not going to be able to travel over. So I was speaking to someone about 2 months ago who said to me, I want to get a test in Reading, but it's so hard to get. I've got a test in Wales. I'm just going to commit to going to Wales, stay overnight, get an instructor to book like 5 hours of lessons with them to drive around the area and just commit there. For me, that feels too much stress. Like, that feels like there's too much riding on that test, because imagine you turn up to somewhere you don't know, another country technically, and you've got all of this thing in the back of your head of like, how much money I've spent to get to this position. Like, I've waited for 7 months, 9 months, like, from when I could actually get a test. I'm in some random other country. Like, I don't know this town at all. I'm with a strange instructor that I don't know. And I've only driven around like each test route like once or twice maybe. There's a lot riding on you passing at that point. So the stress levels go up. I feel like if your stress levels go up, even by like 10-15%, it just all adds up, these little like measures of like how important the test is to pass. I have to pass. And then it's just stress. So like you were saying, Ethan, like, you have to be like able to drive in the area you're going to. And that doesn't mean that like you have to practice. Sorry, I'm just tying my shoes for no reason. So getting prepared for your driving test is going to be like that in all parts of the country these days. But I would say you just need to be good enough that you can just drive in new areas on the whole. If your test, like with Ethan's one, is like, you've Googled it, you know there's loads of hills in this area, like hill starts is good to know. Me teaching automatic now, hill starts are not even a problem. Or you don't even do hill starts on a lesson, because like, whereas when you're learning manual, it's like a really big deal. When you're in automatic, it's literally like, right, we're just going to find somewhere to pull up on the left. Doesn't matter if it's a hill or not. And then they stop, handbrake, put it in park, and they're like, and then I say, right, drive on when you're ready. And they just move off just exactly as they would if they were on a flat. Nothing really changes. So if you are wondering the difference between manual or automatic, or you're not sure what to do, manuals are getting made less. I'm pretty sure by like 2030, at least in our country, in the UK, they're going to stop making combustion engines. So everything's going to be electric anyway. So all the new cars from this point after 2030 are just going to be electric, which means they have to be automatic. So as an instructor, I was like, let me just switch. I can't be bothered to do manual anymore. It's taking too long. I'm charging people too much money over time. Let me switch to auto. Then I can just get things done within a couple of days. This is a great question. Tips to avoid daydreaming or fight sleepiness while driving. Two separate. I'm so glad you asked this question, because I forgot I have an answer to this. Especially the sleepiness one that I haven't tried out yet, but I think it works an absolute treat. So I'm going to answer the daydreaming one first. So if you are driving, and so usually when this happens is like when you're driving down like a straight road, so like not always a motorway. Sometimes it can be like a country road or something that where there's not many people, but there's just kind of like the road is very boring. It can be really easy to switch off. Um, in those times, I would say talking out loud about what you're seeing and what that's making you do will keep you on the ball a little bit better. So if you, even if it's just like a bendy road, so because I'd say bendy roads and motorways can sometimes be the times where you can kind of just like your reaction time can a little bit slower, that kind of stuff. I would say saying what you can see, what's the furthest thing ahead that you can see. So if the furthest thing ahead you can see is like the road bends around quite sharply, you're talking to yourself saying, okay, I can't really see what's behind that corner. So I'm bringing my speed down. I'm checking behind me to make sure no one's behind me. Talking through your brain's process out loud will at least give you that one extra bit of, one extra step of engaged in the present moment. When you're driving down like a busy, like when there's people on either side, like calling out what you can see, the hazards you can see. So, and then in terms of sleepiness while driving, So obviously, if anyone's seen Mr. Bean, the Mr. Bean's Holiday, there's the matchsticks where he puts the matchsticks in his eyes, keeps himself awake. You could always have a packet of matchsticks. That might help you. I've never done it, but I can imagine that'd be pretty good. One of the other things is putting the windows down for sure. Sometimes, if I'm super tired, I went on a drive to Manchester once at the end of the day from Reading. So it was like a 3.5 hour drive. And I literally, within 1 hour, I think it was even less than 1 hour, I was literally falling asleep at the wheel because I think I'd had like a long day of work and then I was going to go drive to Manchester. But I don't have, I don't have any, but if you screenshot it or whatever, I'm sure you're laughing at the matchstick demonstration. But yeah, that one always cracked me up. And to be fair, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it up, but yeah, so can I do this? No, I have no idea. Tap and fit all shows. Oh, do you know what I can do? I'm gonna. Whoa! What was that? I just clicked on something. Matchsticks. So let's see if I can do it. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. So if you're falling asleep, at the wheel, matchsticks is the way to go. But the other tips I have about staying awake, one of them, obviously, window down, head out the window, get the air literally smashing in your face. Like, I'm talking like eyes wide open. You're literally streaming, like eyes are crying, like a dog basically sticking his head out the window. That's, for me, that's worked the best. When I did the trip up to Manchester and within an hour I was falling asleep, I'm literally talking like, I was telling myself it's only been an hour, I can't be sleepy. And for those of you that are learners, you probably wouldn't have had it where you've actually fallen asleep at the wheel, but it is a real thing and it is real dodgy, like to the point where you're like, if I close my eyes and fall asleep, I'm going to die. So don't do that. You'd think that'd be enough motivation for your body to not go to sleep. But honestly, when you need to sleep, your eyes stay shut that little extra time. Like you shut and you're awake and you're still in the lane somehow. But those are the times where it's like, do you know what? Best thing is to just come off at the next exit, which is exactly what I did. I ended up having I just went into like a back of a Holiday Inn car park, slept for 45 minutes, set an alarm so that I didn't just crash out and like get a fine and wake up the next day in the car park. 45 minutes just to kind of get me gone again. Drove to the next base, got a hot drink of some kind, coffee or something. But my final tip, actually, not final tip. Let's go through all the tips. Matchsticks in the eyes. That's a banger. This is for anyone that's just joined. This is how to stay awake while you're driving, or to fight sleepiness. So matchsticks in the eyes, window down, head out the window, in the eyes. I don't know if it's something to do with the eyes, but it must be, because I just feel like the eyes are just not going to enjoy that. Your brain's not going to enjoy it. Pinching yourself, or slapping yourself, like, because obviously coming off the exit, the next safest exit is the best thing to do and the most recommended. But sometimes you're not there. Like, sometimes there's a bit of time between. You should really, as soon as you clock that you're tired, come off. This is talking about motorway, really. Like, if you're on a country lane, it's usually you're sleepy because it's nighttime. If you're on a country lane, it gets dodgier at night because there's less space. So if you are gonna like pull up, you need to make sure where you are is like a safe place away from the car. Try and get some kind of nap in, just to reset yourself, or even just get out of the car, stretch your legs a bit, run around until you can go drive somewhere that's like safer to stop for a little bit longer period. But the final tip, which I think was from, I don't know if anyone follows, what's her name? Only JS. I think she's like the girl that does loads of like psychological mind tricks and stuff like that. I know there was some controversy that went with her, but I have no idea what it is. But people said, like, I see always people in the comments like, I can't believe this person's still posting. Anyway, that's a tangent. She said, if you lift up one of your legs, while you're driving, then your brain, it can't go to sleep or something if your like legs in the air. So, I don't know how to verify this. I mean, you could practice it when you're sat at home. Like, is it possible to fall asleep with your leg in the air? Your leg would probably fall, I guess. I can't replicate it now. But your leg would probably drop, wake you up again when it drops. But it might just be pushing back how tired you are until you can get to a safe place. So, I hope that answers your question. Quenny, is that, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Probably dangerous due to blood to head. Isn't that illegal though? It might work. Which one's the illegal one? Driving with one foot? Or which one are we talking about? One of them might be illegal. I don't know. Unless I'm gonna follow back up to what and what Ethan's answer to the first thing, caffeine. Like, if you are going on a long drive, well, it kind of is about staying awake at night, but it's just sleepiness in general. Caffeine obviously is good. I don't know the science behind caffeine. It's something to do with like, oh no, it kind of is good, but also it's not good, actually. Now, this is science that I have no idea who told me this science, so don't trust it like a scientist. But you can trust it as much as every other advert online that says that it was tested by scientists. Is that the caffeine, when you have coffee or energy drinks or whatever, the caffeine like makes your brain not receive the chemical reactions, which is like saying to you you're tired. So it doesn't like make you feel like I want to go to sleep. But what it doesn't do is like increase your awareness as much. So like, you know, like they say when you're tired and you're driving, it's almost like you're drunk or something like that, because your reaction times are slower. The caffeine doesn't actually help your reaction times as much as it helps you just feeling less tired. So it might actually be pretty dangerous if you feel like I'm caffeined up, I can drive, but your reaction time is still just as slow as if you were kind of like dozing off or sleepy. So I would be careful with the caffeine stuff, although it tends to be what everybody does. And I don't know, I can't verify that. because I don't really even know how to like get off my phone on there. I could do it on the laptop, I guess, but I'm not going to be able to find it without wasting time. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Yeah, in terms of is it illegal, I don't think it's illegal because some people who are driving like it can't be illegal. I'm just thinking there's some people that don't have a left leg, like it's not illegal for them. I know that might sound really insensitive now I've said it, but I feel like there's people that their foot isn't like, so for example, with an automatic, you're not using your left foot. When you're on a motorway, you're already, if you're in a manual, you're already in your top gear probably, so you're also not using your left foot. So I would say safety wise, it's more important that you're staying awake. I'm guessing the dead emojis is from me talking about saying, yeah. I'm not trying to be offensive to people without a leg, but I'm just saying it's not illegal for them to not have a leg. So those of us that do have both legs, we should be allowed to lift one up to keep us awake in order for the safety of everyone else. This is crumbled. That's supposed to be genuinely good advice, but to be honest, you got to verify it. I don't know. I don't think it's illegal. Literally, imagine like you just lift your knee up to scratch. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you got it. Thanks. I was gonna scroll back up to Falak. How about reels related to how to park in different situations? That would be really helpful. So parallel parking is probably the main thing that you could have different situations that stress people out. Although I will talk about parking in a car park as well. But for parallel parking, there's two things that I've found to be like the most useful tips. And you only really need one of them if you're parking just like, so how do I don't know how to, right. This is the car you're parking. This is you. And you're trying to park here on the side of the road. You drive up to this car, turn, reverse, and tuck in. That's the parallel park, yeah? If there's just one car, all you really need to do is when you drive alongside it, turn your steering wheel in towards where you want to park. So you start turning the car. And then the moment in your mirror, your left mirror, you see the curb touch your mirror. You know what? I'm going to have to... I have got a picture for this. You guys are ready? I have... what just happened? What is that? That was weird. I think everybody I got a notification that everybody who has joined just joined. Let's see if I can find... I might have a parallel park, like not a very well made, do you know what? I don't think I have it. Or do I have it? No, I don't have it. My camera roll is filled with just my daughter and me. Oh, I do have it, right. Oh, no. Oh, do I want to... Can you see that? If you can see that, let me know. Am I in the way? Is that useful? So, can it... I literally can't... Oh, you can see it. Cool. So, this is actually working. Right, so you're the red car. Oh, wait, can you hear the music as well? Or is that just me? Yeah, so I've basically I've put a video in. Hopefully it stays there the whole time, but... So you're the red car, you drive alongside it, full lock to the left, and then when in your left mirror... Sorry, this is obviously so bootstrap. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I have tried to make these kind of resources. But what you can't... Can I zoom in on that? Oh, sorry, I zoomed in on me. What I've tried to do... So can you see on the picture number 2, that mirror will see the pavement hit your the side of your car in your mirror. So as you're going backwards, as you're turning, it'll make like a triangle, and that's the triangle you'll see, which is literally just like a little patch of road. From that point, I forgot I put the steps on the guide, but basically you just keep going back until the road is completely vanished, and to be honest, a little bit of the curb as well, I'd say. At that point, that's kind of showing you that you're close enough to the curb that now you can bring the front of the car in. So you just full lock the steering wheel the other way, and it brings the car in nicely. That works pretty much. I tried it like 5 times in 20 minutes, just finding random cars to do it on, and it worked pretty much every time, although sometimes, depending on how close I was to the start car, changed like slightly what I needed to do. So that's good enough for your driving test. But when it comes to if there's other cars and you're needing to fit into a tighter spot, this is where I want to change something, and I've not made something for this yet. But the main thing you need to remember is on stage 2, we're not going to wait till we make a triangle. We're actually going to look in the right mirror, and in the right mirror, if you can try and picture it, that will be seeing the car that you don't want to hit behind you. And you know what? This is going to be really complicated, but basically, I don't know if it is or isn't complicated. I'm a bit of an over talker. But you'll see the car. Once you see the whole of the car, you'll see one of its headlights, and you keep getting you keep turning until you see both of their headlights, and you keep turning a bit more, and then you see a little bit of space. So like you can fully see their whole car. Once you can see their whole car and then a little bit of gap in front of it, that's the time in which you can lock it in there. So at that point, then we just go straight back. I'm going to make a proper video about it. Was it Phallic? Phallic. I'm going to make a proper video about it, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of a teaser that like the main thing is make the triangle with the road and then go straight back, get rid of that triangle, then you're close enough. When you've got an extra car, see the car in your right mirror, make sure there's enough space, and then from there you trigger it. And although now I'm done with this music, I'm done with the picture, I don't know how to get rid of it, so stop sharing. There we go. The best advice I would give for if you wanted to do like forward bay parking, so in the driving test in the UK, there's 4 maneuvers they want you to do. No, there's 4 maneuvers that you need to learn how to do. They'll only ask you one of them. One of them is what we just went through, the parallel park. I can't believe I actually had that video on my phone. That's really useful, because otherwise that whole thing was going to be even more of a mess than it was. One of them is that parallel park. One of them is pull up on the right side of the road, reverse back 2 car lengths. And the other 2 are reverse bay parking. So in a car park, park backwards, and in a car park, park forwards. I'm not going to lie, I hate forward bay parking. It feels like it's the messiest thing. It feels like there's almost no structure to it, and you're just going off vibes. And I've always felt like that. And to be honest, so have the DVSA and probably other countries, their driving standards thing. Because, one, you can't see the front of your car, like it's blind. You can't see the lines once you get to a certain point. But also, when you're reversing out, it's more dangerous. Like you can't see behind the cars that are to the sides of you. It's just not good all around. It's a lot easier to, when you're leaving a car parking space, to be driving forwards out. Then if you're not sure if it's the right time to go, you can creep forwards. Whereas if you are reversing out, you don't know if it's the right time to go, but you still have to just make your way backwards. On the flip side, if you were reversing into the space, you can control it a little bit better. Like you can kind of get yourself out, and then you can use your mirrors to kind of make sure you're staying within the lines right up until you become straight in. But yeah, so if I was to share like my top tips for forward bay parking, the first one would be when you're parking in either left or right, get as far away from the space as you can. if you're close to it, then you're just going to be kind of cutting the corner, and then you'll end up closer to the first line of the bay you want. But if you go really, really wide out, so if you're driving down the left side, try not to be central. I would say even just slightly more to the left, so you're almost alongside the cars, if there's any cars parked on the left side. Get alongside them. If you want to, the full, what I would teach is check your mirrors before you start slowing down. Put a signal on to the left to say, I'm going in here. Stop the car. My best bit of advice, I would say, I've probably said that like 1,000 times. But I would say, if you can get your body halfway in between the bay before, that's probably a good little measure. If you don't like that as a measure, the line that you're about to turn into, so the start of your bay, if you can line that up with your steering wheel and then full lock the car in towards the bay, you got a really good chance of getting in the lines. I'll make a video about that, and I will probably do it loads of different times, maybe in different car parks, and do some kind of like, I tried this technique out for, I tried this forward bay parking technique out in 10 different car parks, and here's what I learned, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's even a good video to do, but that might be useful. And then I'll also show like doing it on the left and how that differs. But I would say with the left one, if you've got the space to it, I would do exactly the same. I would even go out onto the other side of the road, so you're as far away from that bay that you want as you can. Line up your steering wheel with the line that you're trying to turn into, full lock it in. And the reason why we go as far away from the bay as we can is once you do that full lock, you've still got distance in order to like micro adjust your changes. But if you were close to it, by the time you've done the turning in, most of the lines are now underneath the car. You can't see where they are, and you're pretty close to the end of the bay. Can anybody learn how to drive online before practice in real life? That is such a good question. And it's a question that I want to know the answer to, but I'm going to have to experiment by trying to do it myself. Like, I'm going to have to try and teach people online. So I feel like the least I could do is make you good enough that you're going to need less lessons. Make your driving lessons more effective when you do them. But I think you could definitely understand your driving test a whole lot better before you even step into an instructor's car. And I think that will release you to, even to be honest, I feel like you could get to the stage where and this is what my kind of dream is for being able to do stuff online, is if I can teach you and make enough resources or help you understand every area of the driving test, then if you just go practice with your friends or family and not need to go for an instructor, if you film it. So one of the things that I really want to try and do is like, when you're learning to drive and you're in your car, the person next to you is obviously in the passenger seat. But where your headrest is, if you can clamp, and I'm going to make a video about it, if you can clamp your phone and just film you and what you're looking at, so like the roundabouts you're coming up to, whatever, I want to make some kind of like Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that, where you can post your videos of you driving, and then I can give critique on it, and I can watch it through, I can talk through, and even if it's like a kind of one-to-one, we're like discussing how things could be better, or what you were going through when you were thinking about this. I don't know whether or not even these, like a live stream like this, where we could have the video on in the background, we can do a call where we're both speaking. I don't really know how these lives work, but I'm pretty sure you can add people in and talk. So if someone was like, okay, I don't want to do any lessons, or I can't afford to do any lessons, but I can, like, I do have access to like my mum or dad's car, or my friend of mine says I can use their car, film yourself when you're driving, and maybe like once a week, me and you can check in, we can watch the videos, we can watch like if you've got these certain like highlights, you're like, oh, these bits or this bit happened, can you explain it, whatever, and we can debrief it, and then we can like do it on a live. Other people can benefit from it. We can make a bit of a community around like people trying to learn to drive without having to spend so much money on driving lessons. So to answer your question, FT or MG, is, I feel like it's, you're probably going to have to get in the car at some point before you get in the car for your driving test. But I think you can set yourself up to need a lot less lessons if you learn the examiner. Like, a lot of people don't even know that the examiners have like a mark scheme for the driving test. And this is the thing that kind of bugs me a little bit, is that a lot of that information is being no worries, that's all good. A lot of that information is being gate kept by instructors and by examiners. Not examiners like where they're trying to be harsh with it, but the government make it so hard. There's documents online where the examiners go through like all the little like subsection E, B, whatever. If a learner does this, give them a mark for it, whatever. Like all that stuff. I remember when I came across that document, I was like, everybody needs to know this. Like, this is the stuff that like would probably put instructors out of at least half their job, rather than when they say like during a lesson, they're like, cool, so if you'd have done that on your test, you would have failed. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like, do you want to tell me why? Or are we just going to just say, don't do that again? And that's the thing that I feel like good instructors will explain the reasons why and help you to work out like why that is unsafe or what specifically the examiner's looking for. But maybe not less experienced instructors, but ones that probably either don't care as much, like, because I just feel like I'm doing the most. I'm just extra as an instructor, like doing these lives. Like, I tried obviously the Instagram stuff, whatever. I tried making like a website where you could do your own assessment on your own driving, and it's not super good yet. Like, but I tried to get it so that all of that stuff that I was talking about in the documents, I translated it into like, so every mark that they could give you, I translated it into like 2 or 3 words. So when they said like this whole sentence, that really just means the late checking of mirrors, or you revved too much, like you smashed the engine, like the accelerator too much. Like, just try to translate it all. So eventually I'm going to try and get to the stage where I turn that into something that you can like download. So you can, like, when you go out for a drive, you can tick it off. Like at the end of your drive, maybe you've driven for like 20 minutes or something like that, and you and your parents or you and your friend or whoever's letting you drive, you can go through and be like, okay, how did we get on today? When I got to the roundabout, I did actually slow down before checking my mirrors or whatever. Like, go through it as if you guys were examiners, like you're trainee examiners. And the more you do that, the more with something like that, the more I feel like that will get you in the mindset of a driving test every time, so that when you get in your driving test, the examiner is going to feel like me and this person are on exactly the same page, because the moment we were driving up to that traffic light, I checked the mirror, I checked to see if they were checking the mirror, and they did at the same time. Like, we're just kind of flowing. It seems like this person has read the textbook that I'm marking him on. And when I was in school, one of the best things that I did when I wasn't very good at like revision and stuff like that, and to be honest, my results weren't great either, so this might not be great advice, but I was going through the mark schemes, like trying to write my answers to match what the mark scheme said, or when I wrote my answers, comparing them to the mark scheme, so I knew, oh, that's the exact wording that they're looking for, or that's all the kind of stuff that. So yeah, I hope that's helpful, and like, I do want to try and get that kind of stuff out to you. And I think the best way for me at the moment is like in these Q&As, getting that kind of, if people have specific questions, if not just sharing randomness like that. So yeah, yeah, I'm glad. And to be honest, to look into like to deeper into your question, can anybody learn to drive online before practice in real life? Like, that's probably what a lot of people are feeling like at the moment, because the tests are so far away, and driving lessons are so expensive. Yeah, no worries. It's all good. I am super, super happy to help. So, yeah, I just, sometimes I don't know how to help. Like, I've got stuff in my brain, and it's nice to have these moments where people can like ask some questions, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good question. Like, and I can share. So as I am going to learn and develop how to do this stuff, hopefully it will be more and more useful. The videos that I make will be more useful to you who are like trying to learn how to pass your driving test. And I just changed the thing in my bio today to basically be like, a 5-minute scroll on this page hopefully is more useful than a 1-hour driving lesson. And if I can have that as a target, so that, and to be honest, not all the stuff that I'm putting out is like very refined. Like, they're nice moments that I'm seeing from my driving lessons with learners, and I'm trying to pick out the ones that are useful. But sometimes like the sound quality is not great. Like, I'm trying to like, I try and edit it too much, or I put captions on that are too like overstimulating, or I've tried putting music on some of them. Like, I'm just trying to like find what's the way to like bring helpfulness to people that are in the situation where they need to pass their test, they need to get their license. The world we're in at the moment, licenses are very hard to get. So this is my like chipping in on making it a little bit of a smoother process, or at least like more enjoyable or less expensive. Yeah, less expensive. So